Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came in to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came in to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came in to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came in to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came in to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche and after 22 years, Raymond Marsh!
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. And of course, thanks to our sponsors, TCS Customs and Logistics and CBET. He is Pierre McGuire. I'm Jimmy Murphy. And I don't think neither of us would want to be the New York Islanders in practice today, Pierre. What the heck was that?
Well, first of all, they didn't play a good game.
That's what I'm saying.
This is what mind-shattering to me. And I'm not trying to teach people hockey. I'm just formulating an opinion based on what I see, Jimmy.
Oh, yeah. I know where you're going.
Okay. Let's just be fair here. The New York Islanders had one shot in the third period. They had 13 the entire game.
4 in the second. That's it.
So, I mean, can we be honest here?
Yeah.
They did not play as well in game 2 as they did in game 1. But yet they had a lead because they had some good opportunities that were created off of mistakes by Carolina and maybe one questionable goal that Freddie Anderson gave up. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, guys started to get into it.
Yeah.
And then the script flipped. But, you know, everybody's like, oh, the Islanders. I read one column where they're saying one of the worst meltdowns in NHL history. Did you watch the game? They didn't melt down. They were no good.
They're already down, except on the score.
They played a terrible game.
Yeah.
They played I'll tell you what, and you heard me say it on the podcast yesterday, they played a great game in game 1.
Yep.
They really did. So I wouldn't want to be the Islanders today just because they didn't play a good game, not because they lost. They didn't play a good game. But the old adage is you're never in trouble till you lose on home ice. So right now, game 3 is their most important game.
Yep.
And they need all hands on deck. And part of the problem for them right now is they're not getting a lot of supplemental offense. If they're not getting it from Cizikas, if they're not getting it from Horvat, if they're not getting it from Barzal, if they're not getting it from Brock Nelson, they need it from more guys. I know Kyle Palmieri's had a good start to this playoff, but they need it from other guys. And right now they're not getting it from other guys.
For sure. And just for those who might not be familiar or didn't see the game, I know if you look at the scoreboard, that's what Pierre is trying to tell you. You know, at the score sheet, they were down. I mean, the Islanders were up 3-0, but the Canes come back with 5 straight. But it wasn't that type of game. It wasn't like all of a sudden something switched. It was just, Pierre, you know what I look at? It's just they just said, okay, well, we're just going to lean back on our goalie right now and let him do the rest. And he was under siege, and he's human. He could have made 1, maybe 2 of those. I don't know. That's for people can argue that till the cows come home, but that was, you know, they just sat back, and you can't do that against a team like Carolina.
No, you know who's really gone to another level is Seth Jarvis. Seth Jarvis, he's always been a good player since he came out of junior, but he's completely mature now. He's a 21-year-old kid, and he's playing mature hockey. He's really good. Jordan Martinook, the best thing that ever happened to him, getting Rod Brindamore as his coach and Jordan Stahl as his line mate.
Yep.
Jordan Martinook's gone to a whole other level too. I mean, that goal that he scored last night to put them ahead 9 seconds after, you know, the Carolina tied it. Seth Jarvis with what a wrister that was, snap wrist, whatever you want to call it. It was a great shot, high short side on Varlamov. But there's guys, Brindamore and Jeff Daniels and Tim Gleason as a coaching staff, they've made players better there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not at the American Hockey League level, at the NHL level. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
And they've done it, and they deserve a lot of credit. Forget their wins and losses. They've made players better there, and that's a big thing for your organization when NHL coaches can make players better over the course of the year.
We're going to get into that and much more in the Carolina Hurricanes and that game last night with the one and only Tripp Tracy. He's been an analyst for them for so long on TV. He's on Bally Sports now. Does a great job, and he'll be joining us shortly here on the Eye Test. But, Pierre, before he does, let's look around at the other games. We'll start with the game that I was focused in on, and that's the Toronto Maple Leafs beating the Boston Bruins to tie the series at 1 with a 3-2 win in game 2. Pierre, like we spoke about off the air, we'll speak about it now on the air. A lot of credit to Sheldon Keefe and to his staff and to the players for adjusting and doing what they needed to take it to the Boston Bruins. And look, people can question Jim Montgomery's move to go to Linus Ullmark and keep the goalie rotation. They can question that as long as they want, but Linus Ullmark was maybe, to me, the biggest bright spot for the Boston Bruins. So that really wasn't the issue. The issue was, as I just said, the Leafs adjusted and the Bruins didn't. And that was a big problem early on. You could see that the Leafs had it, and the guy that had it the most, I thought maybe arguably the best playoff game he's played in his career, was Austin Matthews, Pierre.
He was completely at another level. So positive for Austin. The coaching staff must have been listening to the eye test. Don't start Bertuzzi, Domi, and Matthews. Stop making it a layup for Jim Montgomery with his matchup game, especially with Brandon Carlo and Hampus Lindholm on defense. Make them uncomfortable. Get them out of rhythm. Throw different combinations at them. Sometimes Marner was on the line with Matthews. Sometimes he wasn't. So you kind of drive the people changing the bench on Boston's side crazy. How many bench minors did they get for too many men on the ice last night, Jimmy?
Too many, pun intended.
Too many.
Yep.
Sometimes, not always, but sometimes that's a byproduct of players getting used to being in rhythm from game one on matchups. And then in game two, the other team says, well, we're not playing into your matchups anymore, so we're going to make it a bit disjointed. And sometimes you get too many men on the ice. And one of the most amazing examples of that took place when Scotty Bowman was coaching against Don Cherry. Too many men on the ice. That leads to the Guy Lafleur goal.
Yep. I mean, those are, those are words that don't have a good place in the history of the Boston Bruins. So to see that do them in again in a playoff game against a division rival last night couldn't have been fun for the old-time Bruins fans. But Pierre, look, I thought, you brought this up, and I'll say it too, and you can elaborate on it too. The way that they addressed some of the players that were giving them problems on the Bruins in game one, specifically one Brandon Carlo, who we've been high on and saying, look, this guy's an X factor. They took him out as an X factor in that game. He was unable to be the factor he was in game one.
They must have had an internal rule, and we did this when I was coaching in Pittsburgh, Hartford, Ottawa. It didn't matter, even when I was coaching the minors. If you're in a series like this where it's pretty tight and you identify players that need to be targeted, you make sure that those players don't have a comfortable night. And how do you make them uncomfortable? Make them turn and go get the puck. Put them into the glass at every opportunity. When you're within a stick length of the player, you finish your check on him. Make sure his life is miserable, that he has got that seed of doubt planted in his mind that every time he goes near our important player, we're going to take advantage of him and make sure he pays a toll. And last night, Brandon Carlo was forced to pay the toll, and he was not nearly as good in game two as he was in game one, and neither was Hampus Lindholm.
No.
And they need those guys. And what I give Sheldon Keefe credit on, the game-winning goal by Austin Matthews, that was Charlie McAvoy on the ice. That wasn't Brandon Carlo.
No, that was their best D-man.
I'm just telling you. So, and that was a heck of a play by Domi. Domi deserves credit. Made a heck of a play there to get the puck to Matthews. You see the greatness of Matthews. And it wasn't just about offense, Jimmy.
Oh, my God. No.
Physical, great on faceoffs,
made
players around him better. Yep. I don't think, and you and I talked about this off the air, we'll tell it on the air, I don't think either of us have seen him this physical.
No, I haven't. Remember, I was texting you in the middle of the game, and I'm like, who is this guy? Like, it was unreal. He was on a warpath, Pierre, and if he can stay that way, if he's going to be in that mode, the Bruins better buckle up and figure out a solution soon, because
Boston, I agree. Boston had two guys that were like that, I thought, too. I thought Zaka was really good last night.
Yep.
And I thought that Charlie Coyle was really good last night.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I'll say the third name, Pasternak was really good physically and obviously, made some good plays. He just needed more consistency with the puck and his shooting decisions. But I thought that those were the three best Bruins. But I thought the two best were, Coyle and Zaka. And
we got Tripp in a second. And one more thing I'll say there. A huge loss, though, news coming out from practice this morning. The Boston Bruins are going to be without defenseman Andrew Peeke, who has been one of their best shutdown guys, a huge penalty kill guy for them. He is week to week with an upper body injury. But we'll get to that. We'll get to the other games later.
Before you go to Tripp, though, I want to build off your point so we don't forget it, because it's a really good point. I'm proud of you for that one, Jimmy. Mm-hmm. If you look at the Tavares power play goal, you could see Kevin Shattenkirk's not comfortable killing that penalty. He's not comfortable in that position. So
No.
as he comes out on the shooting avenue on Tavares, he comes out sideways.
Yep.
So it opens up a scene for Tavares to shoot the puck short side, and he beats Allmark short side. If that's Andrew Peak, he's going straight. He's not turning. Yep. He's going straight. So your point's really relevant because that was a huge goal in the game.
Yeah. They were missing him for sure, and they're going to miss him in this series. Mason Lowry called up, by the way, as well. We'll get to some of that later in all the other games, but let's bring on Tripp Tracy right now to talk some Carolina Hurricanes and New York Islanders series. Tripp, have you recovered from the madness of last night yet?
Jimmy, what's up? My coach, Pierre.
You know.
I'm good. I oftentimes text and pick Pierre's brain on the bike. So I've been at my dog's right to my right. I've been at the dog park 3 times today.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Jimmy, just before you get going with Tripster, I know for a fact that his biggest fan is watching from Siesta Key, Florida. That would be William Scott Bowman.
Oh, that's great.
You better not let him down. He's watching you today.
Yeah, if you got that guy on your side, you're in a good place, Tripp.
He was. I picked his brain aside from Pierre about adjustments going into Game 2 last night, and WSB was typical, as sharp as an Arnold Schwarzenegger knife.
So tell us what you're thinking when they're down 3-0 there, Tripp, because as we were just saying, they really weren't playing that poorly. They were out shooting them. But you were there. What's the feeling like in the building, and also what's going through your head at that point?
Jimmy. It's I'm going to reflect back to Pierre for as I answer this question, because for 20 years, Pierre has really challenged me to grow at my craft in a mentoring way. And you can never give up on the game. But B, I think when you looked at the way that Carolina played in the first half of that hockey game, there was no reason to give up on the game because they were significantly better from the get-go at 5-on-5. And then New York scores a 4-on-4 goal. I thought Carolina had a very ordinary power play down 1-0 late in the first period.
Yeah.
Cizikas and Barzal and Horvat scoring got a lot of life, I think, direct assist to that New York power play. And then Anders Lee scores with the man advantage in the first half of the second period. So you're down 3-0, but you're actually playing much better with the foundation of your 5-on-5 game, in my opinion. And there were so many turning points that allow an epic comeback in Hurricanes history like that. I know it's the first round. They've had some other ones in later Stanley Cup experiences. But the way Varlamov was playing, he was brilliant. It's 3-0, and as soon as he took that unnecessary tripping penalty, I'm like, ooh. Our dear friend, former guest Chuck Caden would say, "Hockey gods." And I'm thinking, he just let Carolina back in here, and they scored. Jarvis and Gensel with a heck of a play to Teravainen. I already felt that they had a chance, but at that moment and the way they continued to build, I mean, they hit 5 posts. But I as Pierre truthfully taught me, you can't ever give up on the game. And it was easy not to give up on that game last night because the way Carolina was playing, even with the deficit.
Tripp, I got to ask you about Rod Brind'Amour. You're one of his closest confidants. Take us through his mindset in a game like that, because you would probably be the person, besides Jeff Daniels and Tim Gleason, you'd probably be the person closest to him. What's his mindset in that game when they're down 3-0?
Pierre, let's just look at the first 2 games. Carolina wasn't going, especially in the second period in Game 1. And so Rod made that key adjustment that you and I spoke about, flip-flopping Svechnikov and Jarvis when they needed life, and they won that third period, and they won the hockey game. Last night, I think he liked the way that they were playing. And so you didn't see any adjustments with his 4 lines. But what I saw, Pierre, too, in that critical power play when they were down 3-0, at that point, I had not liked the Aho Jarvis Gensel, Teravainen, and Burns group. I like the other group on the power play so far in this series. Kuznetsov had scored a power play goal, first goal of the series. And he stuck with that Aho group that after the Varlamov trip that led to the Teravainen goal that got him going. That's the type of, there was urgency, I'm sure, there from Rod, but he gave him another opportunity. And then for me, the signature moment among all the other ones, Pierre, was, hey, I know analytics would say it's a slam dunk if you have an ozone face-off with 2:49 left in the game to pull your goaltender. But, you know, Pierre, you were a coach in the league. When you're pressing like Carolina was, as soon as that whistle happens, I watched Rod go over to Jeff Daniels, who Pierre knows very well. He's like his horse whisperer. And they're talking about three things. One, we don't want to give the Islanders a freebie here, but how many ozone draws are you going to get? B, who's going to take the face off? You know, because it would typically be Jordan Stahl. He ended up going with Aho. And then you're preparing for, you know, with just under 3 minutes to play, how you're going to run your bench if you don't score immediately. I mean, look at game 82 when John Tortorella pulled his goaltender, around 3 minutes left in the game, and Oshie put it away. I thought that was a gutsy call, and I loved watching on our local telecast. Our cameras, they brought us right into the conversation Rod was having with Jeff before he made the call.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, hey, let's go to those moments where they tied it and then they took the lead right now. Let's play the clips.
In the corner to Jarvis. One-timer, score! One-door tip in, we're tied! Drury enters the zone. Plays it in deep for Carolina. Loose. Score! Broken play, a bouncing puck right on the doorstep.
9 seconds later, here come the Canes on the forecheck, and it's Martinook with the hit on Dobson. Quick pickpocket, and he slams this one short side.
Okay, Tripp, I've been down to that building. It's one of my favorite places to cover a game. It gets loud. Is that one of the loudest you've ever heard it?
Yeah, it was certainly right up there, Jimmy.
Yeah. I mean, I saw some videos of people, you know, in the stands posting on Twitter, and you can literally see it shaking, and the fans are just like, "Wow!" It looked like a heck of a time at that moment.
A heck of a time at that moment. I mean, it was full blown mayhem, and if you getting to the nuts and bolts of it, I mean, if you believe that history is bound to repeat itself, I mean, how many third period goals has Sebastian Aho scored in his career? So I'm thinking after in the second intermission, I'm trying to get my head right. You know, if they're going to script a comeback, Aho's going to have to be a centerpiece. He had hit 2 posts in the second period. He was way better than he was in game 1. He tied the game in the third period on the road in regulation against the Islanders before Paul Stastny ended the series last year in the first round in overtime. So it's vintage Aho for him to be able to score. From the New York side of things, looking at the film, I'm still surprised that Horvat left him. And Svechnikov did a good job getting the puck to the net. And then this was scripted. Again with Pierre, he's always telling me, Tripp, you're thinking about what's the story at a given moment. But when I've had the privilege and the immense privilege to be with an organization for 25 years, I'm able to think back to other playoff moments. And before the game, Martinook ends up getting the game winner and Timmy Gleason running our defense. Game 2 in 2009, I remember we went to New Jersey. Jersey trounced Carolina in game 1. Game 2, it was 1-1 going to overtime. I got asked on TV, who's going to get the winner? And before we went to New Jersey, Nicky Vaulin, who had scored a bunch of overtime winners, I see him outside the training room, and I'm not going to go into detail, but he is blessing Tim Gleason, his buddy's stick, the blade of the stick. And so I get asked, you know, going into overtime in that New Jersey series, game 2, just like this was, who do you think's got the winner? And I said, Tim Gleason. I mean, he never scored. One-timer from the blue line beats Brodeur. And so before the game, I'm doing my interview with Rod Brindamore a couple hours before the game. The stick station's right there. And out walks Martinook. I said, which one's your game stick? And he said, this one. I said, give me that blade. And I told him the story. And it's just perfect because Martinook is such a team-first player, like Gleason was, like Valine was. And then the other thing, in reflecting back, there was the Stanley Cup final. But Pierre, how about game 1 against Edmonton, where you come all the way back, similar comeback, Dwayne Rollinson gets caught out of the net. So it was subtly different. Yep. He puts, he that caps that comeback against the Oilers. Rollinson gone from the series in that Stanley Cup final, and game 1 is awesome as he had been. And then you have an Edmonton product growing up in Edmonton that Jordan Martinook did that is able to cap that comeback. So all these things flow into mind.
It's all synced.
That's the importance of having a veteran presence. Tripp's been there for almost 30 years.
Yep.
So he knows where all the bodies are buried. I mean that sincerely. He does. He knows where the guys made great plays. He knows where the guys melted down. And it's an important thing that you have to bring as a broadcaster. You need to know it. Tripp, I wanted to ask you about, there's an injury situation. I don't care what the injury is. Probably not going to have Brett Pesce. So does that make it a lead pipe stitch that Tony DeAngelo's going in, or is Scotty Morrow going in?
Yeah, it's first of all these Stanley Cup winners, this is the first round. And you're worrying about winning game 3, which would be the toughest of the series. But let's not kid ourselves. Pierre, what a massive, monstrous loss. Brett Pesce.
Yeah.
In best case scenario in the short term, I have not heard. I know there were going to be a bunch of there was a ton of evaluation today. I have not heard an update at this point. I know that he would be a monstrous loss. That being said, I think DeAngelo was solid down the stretch. He's a veteran guy. He's got to get first crack. If for whatever reason that doesn't work, Pierre, then you go to Scott Morrow, who I thought played 2 solid games after career that so Yoda well at UMass. But DeAngelo was solid. Can he be serviceable defensively? And then can he make a difference offensively? But Pierre, I'm going to bounce one to you. You have 5 other guys, and I think before I came on, you were talking about peak. You have guys that are comfortable on their offside. I mean, look at the third period when you had 5 defensemen. Orlov, in some ways, I think he's better on his offside. Made a play on the backhand at the offensive line, drew a penalty, and then on Jarvis's goal to make it a 1-goal game, Pesce with pressure on his offside, on his backhand at the offensive blue line, keeps it in, and Jarvis ends up tying the game. So you have, when you think about, Pierre would know this, he's the coach. But when you think about the minutes available in a game, you have 1 defenseman on each power play group, and then you're looking at Slavin, Burns, Shea, Chatfield, who has shown that he can play both sides and can take on more minutes, and then Dmitry Orlov. It's really not – it's a massive, massive loss. But it's not a huge number of cumulative minutes that you've got to address. Would you agree with that, Pierre?
I would agree 100%. And your point about being able to play on the offside is huge. And Jalen Chatfield is like found money for that team. Jimmy, I'm so glad that Tripp brought his name up. Not enough people are talking about the way his skating. Tripp, do you agree? Elite skater?
His skating ability, and it's so direct north-south too. So it gets him out of trouble. It allows you to join the rush and hold the line. If you have the support, from your forwards with back pressure. But his skating allows him to really get back and oftentimes get underneath the puck and not take a penalty in the process.
Jimmy, I think that of all the players they have there, he's probably the least well-known. Everybody knows who Jacob Slavin is. Everybody knows who Brent Burns is. Everybody knows who Brent Pesce is. Everybody knows who Brady Shea is. They know who these guys are. They know who Orlov is. They don't know who Jalen Chatfield is. And nailed it, by the way.
Yep.
He's such a good player. And this is why people need to watch games. And that's why the eye test matters. Because I don't think, Tripp, you would know better than I don't think his analytics are super off the charts, but his play is really good.
Really good, Pierre. He's had to earn everything that he's gotten to establish himself in the NHL. I remember last year, early in the season, Burns goes to the game so early. I took an Uber with Burns in Calgary, and the compliments that Brett Burns was talking about his insatiable appetite, Jalen Chatfield, to be a sponge. Burns isn't the only one, but what a supreme compliment from Brett Burns. And you know what he's got? He has got something you simply cannot teach, and that is a very significant amount of self-belief. And Chatfield last year, there was a stretch in January where Slavin went down for the majority of the month of January, and Chatfield played his offside seamlessly with Brent Burns in Slavin's absence. So there is a history of him being able to take on more minutes extremely effectively and play either side of the rink as a righty.
How much of that, guys, either you guys can answer this though, but how much of that comes from him being undrafted and really having to work to get where he is right now?
Pierre? No, I want you to say it because you're with him all the time.
I think it's, first of all, you don't make it if you're not strong mentally when you have to carpe diem every opportunity that you get. I mean, I look at this series and here I am sitting in my condo. And a few summers ago, because I go to Michigan in the summertime to take care of my mom, and Kyle McLean was living here because he was training here. And I admire the heck out of Kyle McLean.
He got the big tip last night with Stephen Nason.
If the Islanders win that game, you can make a ridiculously good argument that Kyle McLean had every reason to fight there. Nason, you can debate it. It was shortly after that, it was a great fight. But McLean, the Islanders got a huge lift afterwards. But I just think about it that, with Pierre's ties to the Hartford Whalers. I mean, I remember my first, a free agent camp and, on the rookie team, my partner was Jean-Sebastien Giguère. Now, was he significantly better than me? Yes. But, things went really well in those rookie games, but I remember thinking, and I've had various strong conversations with people in management throughout the leagues that, it doesn't matter what your salary is or what you sign for. Well, the reality is it's like an investment on Wall Street. So if you're a big investment, you're going to get a bunch of different opportunities. If you're a guy like Jalen Chatfield, your opportunity is going to be limited. It might take a couple of different organizations. What a find by the Hurricanes. I mean, initially in the Vancouver organization, but you better be mentally and physically ready to grab your opportunity. And that's exactly what he's done. And you don't grab it if you don't have mental toughness. I think about Chatfield. I think about Kyle McLean, who's been excellent in both games on the Islanders side.
And I'll think about one more guy that he's really good friends and former teammates with the family, young Jack Drury. I'm telling you right now, Jimmy, we talk about Chatfield being underappreciated. I'll let Tripp take over here. I watch all the games. I watch all
against Beecher. When you brought it up against Beecher against the Bruins, that fight, he took care of him.
Tripp, tell these people how determined this guy is.
He is. I remember when he was drafted in the second round. They took Svechnikov in the first round, 2018 in Dallas, and Jack went in the second round. And his dad was my captain at Harvard, Ted. Very close with his mom, too.
Mom is a better athlete than the father, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, I used to call her Tony the Tiger at Harvard. She helped me. My dad, God rest his soul, thinks that she's the only reason I graduated academically. But Jack, when he went there in the initial portion of the second round, the thing that was spoken about was his mental toughness, quiet confidence, his determination. I remember when we were in the conference final, Pierre, I think, was doing that series for NBC in 2019 against Boston. I called Ted Donato one night before game one, and I think Jack was going into his sophomore year. And Ted Donato, of course, the coach at Harvard, told me privately that how many votes he had gotten as a freshman going into his sophomore season to be captain. That never happens at Harvard.
That never happens. Never.
Incredible. And so then there's so many things I could talk about, but let's just talk about his impact so far in this series. So he takes a puck in the face. He's got cotton both avenues in both nostrils. And there's an icing play late in the game. Patrick Waugh calls his timeout, and Jack's got to stay on the ice. He's a lefty. He's on his tougher side. And again, this is what Pierre taught me. I'm thinking the entire break, looking at the timeout, I'm like, okay, Horvat's got a big edge here. How's Jack Drury going to dig in and win this face-off? And he won it right to the wall. I think it was Pesci won a board battle that Nate just did. They put the game to bed. So that's game one. Well, who makes the play on the bump-up shift game? From Martin. Who's the guy that, chips it to an area with speed that your F1 first-man pressure, Marduk on Dobson, can be maximized? Jack Drury. So that's just in this series and he has the implicit and total trust of Rod Brindamore, and you can't put a price tag on that when in all situations you're used and you have the trust of your coach.
Great stuff. Love it. Tripp,
that's a scouting report. That's a real scouting report.
I love it. Give us a scouting report on Frederik Andersen so far since he has returned and gotten healthy. What's been your take?
My first take was we were in Arizona at Mullet Arena. It was his first practice in March, early March, I think it was. 3.5 months, Jimmy, without seeing NHL shots.
Right.
And sitting there watching practice, and I'm like, wow, does he look good? 3.5 months not seeing NHL shots. And then the Hurricanes did an outstanding job. They rotated their goaltenders, and both Freddie and Kochetkov were excellent. Spencer Martin, who, by the way, was a supporting contributor for this team. But they also didn't travel Freddie Andersen essentially at all. So it was almost like a pitcher in baseball resting him. So he has every reason to be fresh for the playoffs. Difference in game one, Jimmy, without question, especially the 1-1 save on Dobson where he feels contact. Yeah. He didn't lose. A lot of goaltenders would have been, wants to want to show the whole building that there's contact. He didn't lose his will and compete to make the save. And a couple minutes later, Nason gets the game winner. Last night was a difficult game to play, because, you haven't seen many shots. When I look after Lee scored in the second period, Carolina was so dominant that Freddie really didn't have to make any saves. But I think that would be my biggest takeaway. Watching him in Anaheim and Toronto, Carolina doesn't give up a lot of shots. Typically, they did in game one. But that's so mentally challenging for a goaltender. And he is mentally tough enough to be able to not try to do too much in those types of games. He closed the series in game 6 against the Islanders, where they're about to go in the first round last year. The combination of a big man, especially with those pinball flipper legs that he's got, and if you were to hot stove with Frederik Andersen, what I enjoy the very most is his total appreciation passionately for the history of the game.
That's awesome.
And that I remember the first time I had dinner with him here in Raleigh, and he's coming from Toronto. He's got to be like, what is this? The color guy's having dinner with me? And we sat down, and he's breaking down Artur Zerbe from the old days, to run.
God, I love that guy.
I love guys like that passionate and knowledgeable about the history of the game. Thoroughly so.
Do you sense, just given, he's had so much great regular season success over the years, but obviously playoffs haven't always gone the same way. Is there a chip on the shoulder there, a sense to kind of redeem himself in a sense of the word?
I think there is, but I think when you have a combo of a chip on your shoulder, yet, even though the narrative is what it is, look at the playoff numbers. Coming in, his career playoff percentage was .917 in the postseason. Right. And I don't know where it sits right now after games 1 and 2. He's possibly built on that based on his performance in game 1. But when you can combine, I've got something to prove, that chip on your shoulder, but your body of work statistically is actually very good in the playoffs. That's a nice combination. And last year, I thought Carolina did everything chronologically right. Ronta started the series against New York because he earned it. And when the guy that comes in second, in a lot of ways, I think that's less pressure. He didn't fix against the Islanders, very good against New Jersey, and it gets lost because Bobrovsky was superhuman in the conference final. Frederik Andersen was stellar. Yeah. So the most important thing, Pierre can speak to this as a manager and a coach, is that his team has implicit trust in him. And based upon swagger and experience, not to say they don't have it in Kochetkov, but they do. But there's a different feel when Frederik Andersen's in the net.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's so important. We had Tommy Barrasso for the 2 cups in Pittsburgh, and Tommy would just tell you, I'm good, and I'm going to prove to you how good I am.
Yeah.
And he would. Everybody believed in him. Tripp's point about the trust factor is huge. Tripp, I wanted to ask you one more before we let you go. Carolina, close, haven't gotten over the mountain yet since 06. What does Rod do to push one more step? What does he have to do?
Well, in this run of 6 consecutive playoff appearances, Pierre, I mean, they've steadily gotten better with their roster. I mean, the team upset Washington in Game 7, Brock McGinn, Stanley Cup defending champions at the time. You know, if you look at the 2 rosters, I mean, Pierre would know players if they come from the moon. I often tell him. So the rosters are drastically different. But as they've gotten better and elite in the seasons here in these last 6 years, they've had injuries to top players.
Yeah.
And, going back, I mean, could you argue that it's over 20 years ago, the last team, you can make an argument since then, but maybe the last team that lost a top stud player and still won the cup and didn't have him available, this is Peter Forsberg when Colorado won with that lacerated spleen. They've critical guys out of the lineup, whether it be Svechnikov, Pacioretty last year. He never really even got going, unfortunately. Teravainen first round. I wouldn't say top player, but a clutch performer and Stanley Cup champion. Pierre always reminds me of what he's done in international competition for Finland. And now you have this Pesce situation. For Rod, it's the ability to control what you can control, Pierre. And it's also relying on Timmy Gleason. I thought when they lost Pesce last night, how do you move those minutes around? If and knock on wood, the outcome here of what Pesce's situation is will be a positive one. But how do you divvy up the minutes for those other 5 horses or 4 horses and then get D'Angelo in? And then the one other area, Pierre, and Rod pointed to it, their penalty kill has been elite for the last several seasons. Their power play in the playoffs just hasn't been what it's needed to be. It got itself up into the elite category in the regular season in the NHL, and so far you've got power play goals in both games 1 and game 2. That was an area of major emphasis for Rod, and the early indications are that it's showing every bit of life and hope that it can carry over into the postseason. So that's going to have to be a big storyline. Rod, as Scotty Bowman, did every day when you're coaching with him, Pierre, practice on the power play every day. It's going to have to continue to carry over in the postseason because it was probably the best facet area of growth. It was the biggest facet area of growth from last year and in the postseason into this regular season.
Jimmy, before we let Tripp go, I just want to say 3 names that are going to affect their power play. Brent Burns, really important.
Mm-hmm.
Seth Jarvis, really important. Acquisition of Jake Gensel, hugely important. Those 3 guys can change the dynamic of the power play. What an awesome point by Trippster. I totally agree. That's the penalty kill everybody knew about, just because that's how Brindamore played. That's how Jeff Daniels, I tell this to Tripp all the time, he was a mini Bob Gainey when he played in Pittsburgh. I'm just telling you, he was. He wasn't big like Bob, but he skated a little like Bob. He could check like Bob, but obviously not as good. But that's what he was like. Highly cerebral guy, penalty killing specialist. Brindamore, same thing. Gleason, the same thing. Their power play needed to get better. I'm so glad you said that because I completely agree.
Yep.
Completely agree.
Yep. Well, I think they'll do it, man. I mean, this is a team. You feel like they're right there, ready to make that leap. So we'll see what happens. Tripp, we appreciate you taking the time. Great stuff.
Really good.
We'll see you hopefully around the rinks, my friend. And if not, we'll get you back on the eye test soon, okay?
Jimmy, thank you so much, Pierre. I'll be in touch. Love you to the end.
We'll talk later.
All right. Love it. Tripp Tracy joining us here on the eye test on the Sick Podcast Network. Pierre, you know what I love seeing this about that interview is how many people you're in their ear and you're helping out. That's what I love.
This kid's a superstar, though. And I call him a kid, but people forget, like, he was a drafted NHL player. It's not like he couldn't play.
Yeah.
He was a good goalie. He was an elite college.
He's a superstar broadcaster, I'll tell you that.
He's extremely good. And what's really good about him, the way he questions coaches and players before games, during games, or after games. His questioning or his line of questioning is so good, Jimmy.
Right.
He's really good at it.
And
it's relevant. It's all relevant.
But he's objective too. That's what I like, Pierre, because we all know sometimes with team broadcasters, they're just gonna, give you the fluff. He gets right down to the nitty-gritty about the hockey, and he's gonna tell you whether it was good or whether it's bad. So that's what I appreciate a lot about Tripp. The
key for him, and we've talked about a lot, is less is more, but never make it personal. When a guy's struggling, you can say he's struggling. You don't have to make it personal.
Yeah.
No. Hit him once, and then you can let him, suffer. He's going to suffer on his own anyways.
Exactly.
You don't have to beat the guy up the whole game. So we all learn, and he's really good at his job. I'll just tell you that. And that's why when I told you yesterday, I said, I can't believe we're getting the Trips to run.
And then that game happens.
Because of the game.
Pierre the psychic gets us a perfect guess. So, all right, we're looking at the games tonight, Pierre. Well, let's look at it. What game do we think is going to be the craziest? I'm going to go with Lightning Panthers, Pierre. So can you get us a guess from that game, please?
You know what I'll try to do, honestly. I don't know what. No, but I don't think they'll have a travel issue. I have a person in mind from the Tampa point of view. Okay. So I will touch with that person as soon as we're done here tonight. He's obviously getting ready to do a game. Yep. But I'll try to do that. Yeah.
And remember, and just for our listeners too and viewers, we will be 1 p.m. tomorrow instead of the usual 4. So just make that a note if you want to tune in. But Pierre, back to the games from last night. I don't even remember where we left off. That was such a good interview with Tripp. We were talking about Bruins, Leafs. We got let's go to the Knights and Stars. And Pierre, I think one of the things you and I were honing in on about the Stars that we felt like maybe they're the team that could come out of the West was that we feel like Ottinger can really carry them. That was not his night. That was not his night.
In game 1, he faced 15 shots last night.
Yeah,
he wasn't great. Now, were some of them going to go in on anybody? Yeah, they were, but it doesn't matter. He's got to make some saves. I do believe he'll get better.
Oh, I think he'll bounce back.
I thought the Dallas Stars, and I'm not trying to pick on Vegas because, obviously Vegas is Vegas and they're the defending champs. They deserve respect. I thought Dallas was better in that game.
Yeah.
I thought Dallas, they had 30-15, Jimmy.
Yeah. Sometimes in the playoffs, the better team loses. It just happens sometimes.
That's why
that was one of those times.
That's why they play 4-7.
Exactly.
Now, this is what happens in game 2, but the old adage again, you're never in trouble till you lose on home ice. They lost game 1.
Right.
Now, I can tell you that.
Game now for them.
Yeah. So now they got a big you got to take care of business in game 2 and then go win one of the next 2 on the road. Not going to be easy in Vegas. As Vegas is tough. But I remember a team that lost every game 1 in 1991 and won the Stanley Cup. They lost game 1 to New Jersey. They lost game 1 to Washington. They lost game 1 and 2 to Boston. And they lost game 1 to Minnesota. Pittsburgh, but they won every series.
Yes, they did. I remember it. I was going to say, there's not many teams, though, that go down 0-2 at home that have come back. And I was lucky enough to cover one in 2011 with Mr. Mark Recchi telling me afterwards, we're coming back with this series tied against Montreal. And they did it. But you don't want to get in that position. So they're not there yet. One thing I will say, the only thing that worries me about Ottinger is last year, too. He was his play dipped a bit in the playoffs. I wonder, is it a mental thing or, is something going on?
I don't think so. I really thought and I still believe that. I'm going to discount last night. I still believe he's ready to take a run. I think he'll play. Okay. I think he'll play really well in game 2. And if he doesn't, then I will take full responsibility and say, I got it wrong again. But I do think he'll play better. I do. And I think Vegas will play better. What I was surprised at, but of all the things that have surprised me so far, Islanders played maybe one of their weakest games we've seen from them in a long time, because you remember that last 10-game sprint.
Yeah.
They played really good hockey.
Oh, yeah. And they
game one, they deserved better.
Yeah.
They played a good game.
They were dictating. Yeah.
They played poorly last night. Everybody's talking about this miraculous comeback, but by Carolina, the Islanders didn't play well.
Yeah.
Carolina had like 5 or 6 posts in that game. They should have blown them out.
Yeah. And then the other game, Pierre, I don't think it was any surprise. The Edmonton Oilers beat the LA Kings 7-4. I thought, look, we all thought that this is going to be a series the Oilers win. And we understand that the Kings don't have a lot of offense. What I thought hurt them in this, Pierre, is that they tried to play as if they did, and they opened themselves up, which is not their trademark. They are a defensive-minded team. They are a structured team. And I think them trying to say, well, let's see if we can run and gun it with the Oilers completely backfired them. I'm not sure if you read it that way, but I feel like, look, hey, maybe you won't win the series, but the worst thing you can do right now is not go out there and be yourself.
That's really well said, and I agree. So I'll just say this. That score was 7-4 in the newspaper. It was 7-2 because one went in off of Darnell Nurse's foot, and the other one was a broken stick that Cody Ceci had bad luck. That leads to a goal. So, and that's at the end of the game. That was a 7-2 game. And it could have been more. It could have been more.
Yeah.
The problem for LA, and it's a problem, is the Hyman-McDavid relationship on the ice.
It's unreal.
I don't know how they're going to stop that.
That Hyman, he's no good, Pierre, that Hyman guy, remember? He's no good.
But you know what Toronto got in compensation for him? Zero. All
right, let's get to tonight's games, then we're going to get right over to our comments quickly. But just, Pierre, some big news coming out of Vancouver right before we hit the air. Not good at all. And this is something you were worried about, and that is the health of Thatcher Demko. He is out for game 2, potentially out for the series. Rick Tocchet stressing this is not the injury that kept him out in the regular season. It is something new. This has got to be just crushing to them, because I thought things went great for them in game 1. I thought he looked pretty good. What does this do right now? If you're the Vancouver Canucks, where does this put you mentally heading into this game?
Well, a lot of the guys know Casey DeSmith because he had to play down the stretch a fair bit because of a previous injury to Thatcher Demko. So, and a lot of the Pittsburgh guys know Casey very well. Casey's a battler. He'll go in there and battle. The thing about playing Nashville is you got one big job. You got to make sure Riley, Gustav Nyquist, and Philip Forsberg don't dominate offensively. So you got to have 5 players. Yeah, well, they had 1 power play goal, but the whole line was -3. They were -3.
Yeah, exactly.
So what you got to do, you got to have a game plan, 5 guys responsible for shutting down 3. That's what you got to do. And then you got to take care of Roman Josi. Those are the 2 big things. And then everybody else has to go to work.
Yep.
Everybody else got to go to work.
You know what else I want to see? That bottom 6 step up the way they did in game 1. I thought they were a huge factor for them. Guys,
your favorite player, Dakota Joshua.
That's right. He's going to do it again.
Season in game 1 already he had 2, so he's got the 20 don't count.
Yeah,
I heard last night that Austin Matthews had 70 goals now.
Oh, Pierre, how about this? I got some guy coming at me I think I told you this, but I want our listeners and viewers to hear. And this is just comical. So this guy's coming at me telling me that Allmark was the reason the Bruins lost last night, which he was far from the reason. He was maybe their best player. And he says, I can't believe you're saying that. He gave up 4 goals. I'm like, hey, buddy, the score was 3-2. Did he give up one of the goals that the Bruins scored? I mean, it's something I don't know here. People watch the games. Watch the games.
Jimmy, you know what the most important thing about our sport, honestly? How passionate the fans are.
It is.
So awesome how passionate the fans are.
I love dealing with the real fans like we have here in our comments section that we're going to get to in a second.
They're awesome. Our people, we're so grateful. Jimmy and I talk about you all the time, by the way.
Yeah, we do.
We're really grateful for everybody helping to grow the brand too. So thank you very much. That's why we get TCS. That's why we get CBET.
And
That's why we've had all these other sponsors. We're very, very and more coming on board, as we know. So
exactly. And let's tell you about CBET right now, because you got a slate of games, another 4-game night here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You want to go to CBET right now, and you're going to get $3,000 back on your first bet, win or lose. That's a heck of a deal right now. Now, if you're liking Nashville, I would suggest you get on there fast, because I guarantee the odds makers are starting to get wind of what's going on there with the goaltending situation. That might change a bit. You might not be getting as much value. So get over there right now and use the code SICK to get that $3,000 back in Canadian on your first bet. All right. And how about our guys, TCS Customs and Logistics? Maybe I heard Tripp saying he goes back and forth to Michigan. Maybe we'll send him to TCS there to help him with that move, because there he can unlock the full potential of his shipping operation with TCS Customs and Logistics. From around the corner to around the world, flatbeds to air freight, customs clearance to drawback consulting. TCS is a one-stop shop for all things transport, moving pieces, and delivering peace of mind. For no obligation customs or freight quote, contact Sick Podcast at shiptcs.com. Again, that is Sick Podcast at shiptcs.com. All right, let's get right to it. What do we got here in the questions section? Bill Van Vagel. Hey, guys. What's up, Bill? Love that Blue Jays hat there. With a lot of talk lately of expansion being on the horizon, I have heard a lot of names, i.e. Houston, KC, Quebec City, etc., but I never heard Milwaukee brought up. Thoughts?
Chicago Blackhawks own territorial rights. They're not allowing a team in Milwaukee.
Yep, that's what I was thinking. I wasn't sure, but thank you for confirming that, Pierre. All right, next question.
It would be a great hockey market.
It would, too. I love it. All right, they could call them the Laverne and Shirley's. Remember that show? Marvin Matthews. Pierre and the Islanders have had depth scoring issues for years. Are there any offensive hopes in their farm system?
There are. I'm going to tell you right now who they are, because I know the players. One is Danny Nelson. He's a real good player, but I'm just going to tell you who I think are their best scoring options coming up. Let's just see here. Danny Nelson is one. Quinn Finley's another. And Alex Jeffries, who finished the season, he played at Merrimack, finished the season in Bridgeport. Those are their 3 probably best scoring prospects. Are they super elite scoring prospects? No. But are they guys that have a chance? The answer is yes. Especially Jeffries. Jeffries can score. He had a heck of a college career, had some injuries, but he's a scorer. He can score.
Good stuff. All right, let's go to the next question. Samuel Matei. With high turnover of coaches in the modern day NHL, do you think teams are giving up on coaches too early? I'm looking at Cooper in Tampa Bay and how long it took to win, but it certainly paid off. That's a great point there, Samuel.
It's really good. Cooper got the chance because they fired Guy Boucher. They didn't think they could go any further with Guy. Guy did some really good things in Tampa, by the way. He really did. And everybody talks about, the 1-3-1 or the bumper power play. I defy anybody to tell me that it was created in the NHL. It wasn't. It was created in the 2009 World Junior by Guy Boucher.
Yep.
And on that team were guys like John Tavares, PK Subban, Ryan Ellis. There were some really good offensive players. And Alex Pietrangelo was on that team. So the 1-3-1 power play, Pat Quinn was the head coach. Guy Boucher was the assistant coach. It was kind of created in the 2009 World Junior. But, I think teams do give coaches a shorter and shorter leash all the time. Jimmy, I've talked to you about it. If the wrong teams, I shouldn't say the wrong teams, if there's some upsets or perceived upsets in this first round, I think we have some collateral damage around the league in terms of coaches. I do.
Pierre, too, one thing I want to point out in terms of coaches, too, Ron Francis did not give any job security at all in his final end-of-season press conference yesterday to Dave Haxtell. So I think that, I don't want to see anybody get fired, but it's a situation I think we need to keep our eye on.
I can't because I'm
not asking you to comment on it, but
what I would say is this: is if there's a general manager in the league that understands when a team's going well, why they're going well, and when the team's not going well, why they're not going well.
Mhm.
Ronnie's level of understanding in terms of hockey sense decisions is phenomenal. I'll just
Yeah.
say that. And
Yeah.
so if he feels that there's something wrong schematically or message-wise from the coaching staff, he'll know. And he won't have to rely on other people. He'll just see it.
Yeah.
It'll be an eye test thing for him. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that plays out. But I'm talking about playoff teams right now. I do think there'll be some problems for guys if the team goes out early where ownership or management didn't think they should.
Yep. Good stuff. All right. Let's go to the next question. Kook69, with all the talk of a 3-point game, why not just 2 points regulation win, 1 point OT win in any way, and 0 for a loss, period? No more rewarding 1 point for the OT winner. Your thoughts? I wouldn't mind it, Pierre. I honestly, I get where Kook's coming from. I wouldn't mind that at all.
I'll tell you. So I was a coach in the league when you lost in overtime, you didn't get a point.
Yeah.
We didn't make the playoffs because of that, just so you know. And it drove me nuts. But anyways, everybody else had to play by the same rules too. So we weren't the only team that was upset. But I would say this, Jimmy, and it's really important. Teams staying alive late into the season sells more tickets, creates more energy.
Yeah.
When you do it the 3-point way, more teams get eliminated quicker. If you do it with no points, okay, I'll use this one for you. Where do you think Columbus, San Jose, Anaheim would have been probably the end of December?
Long gone.
If they did it with no points for the loser or 3 points for a win, would have been a problem. Would have been a big problem.
Yeah. And you know what? I get a good point by you. And as you're saying that, I'm thinking, well, we wouldn't have had the most exciting last 2 weeks of a hockey season I can remember that we had this year. I mean, that was fun to watch. It was almost like a playoff. So I get what you're saying there. All right. Next.
The question from Cuckoo was right. Like, it's a good question. That's why the league's not going down that road. And they're not going to go down that road.
No.
They want to keep the market as relevant as possible. It sells tickets and it creates excitement.
All right. Next question. Morantz, good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon to you. Please explain what is up with the playoffs high scores.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
I'm just going to say that I think the goaltending hasn't been as good as it needs to be right now. That's the bottom line. That's in my opinion. I also think that I'm not going to say that the regular season has carried over a bit, but I feel like it has. I don't know how to pinpoint that there, Pierre, but I just feel like it's easier for teams to get through systems than it used to be. I don't know.
So this is my theory on it.
Go ahead.
The new rules since 2005-06 have really helped, especially for odd man rushes because of the 0-2 line pass. Zero tolerance on obstruction has helped. Skill development of players in the offseason has helped, but the equipment has really helped. So I'll give you an example. I talked about it with our dear friend Stu Hackle today.
Oh, wow.
If you go to the Leon Draisaitl goal from last night, do you think that's a goal 20 years ago?
No.
With a wood stick? No. So we look at this year that we had with all the points that players accumulated. Look at all the high point totals from defensemen that have to shoot the puck from distance. Okay. Look at all the guys that were getting – we had a 69 goal score, but we had a lot of guys pushing 50-plus.
Yep.
Right? I think the equipment, the new rules, and the red line coming out have really helped change it, and skill development have really helped change it.
Yeah.
It's a hard – the goaltending position is thankless. I wouldn't want to.
Yeah, man. I talk to goalies sometimes, and they're just like, different game now. Different game. All right, let's go on to the next question. Bilal Abdelmalik, I hope I pronounced your name right. Hey, guys, my name is Bilal. Do you think Primo gets traded?
I don't know. Not right away. I don't think so. Especially to where I thought would be a likely landing spot in Philadelphia. It looks like they've solidified their goaltending for a long time now. So I don't think so. And they don't want to pull Jacob Fowler out of school yet. So I would say no.
Yeah, they hold on to him a little long. We'll see what happens. All right, next question. Jeffrey B., are you expecting Tom Wilson to set the tone for Washington tonight? It just looks like an uphill battle against this Rangers squad. Yes, I would imagine that's the goal, but you said that right. This is a tough task for this Capitals team who, let's call a spade. Nobody thought would be here anyways, so there's no shame if they do lose to the Rangers. But, yeah, it's gonna be a tough challenge to overcome.
I'm looking forward to watching what Tommy Wilson does, what Matt Rempe does, what Barclay does, what Jimmy Vesey does. I'm looking forward to seeing how this all plays out with Jacob Trouba and Keandre Miller. I think we could have some shenanigans tonight.
Mm-hmm. And you think that benefits Washington or benefits New York?
Depends on who Tommy decides to go with.
Right.
Or Ovechkin takes a run at one of their defensemen.
Ooh.
So we're going to see. I think this has got a potential for major fireworks tonight.
Okay, little powder keg we're sitting on here. Let's see. All right, next question. Ron LaRue. Okay, Pierre and Jim, not afraid to say I made a mistake on Rempe. Speak of the devil. Mistake on Rempe last Thursday on your show, and you answered my question about him. He looked pretty good in the first game, played a mature game. Yeah, we agree. We think he's come a long way in a short time.
Yeah, but Ronnie's not like I remember that question that Ronnie asked us about Matt Rempe. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what the beauty of the show is. You don't need an eraser here. Like, speak your mind, and if we agree, we're going to agree. If we don't agree, and you get it right, we get it wrong, we'll acknowledge it too.
Yeah,
that's one of the things I like about doing this. Let's just all come together and just formulate opinions. There's a lot we can learn from each other.
Exactly. And I love that.
One of the guys that, like, I love Evan's questions, Jeffrey B's questions, Ronnie's question. Like, there are a lot of our people that text a lot. I enjoy their questions because a lot of them they're well thought out questions. They are.
Yeah, I love it. So we appreciate it. Keep it coming. All right, next question. Bill Van Vagel. Other than Utah, which team do you predict gets a new arena next? Atlanta?
I don't think a new arena. I think arena is what they said, not team.
Yeah, they said arena.
Arena. So I'm just trying to think here who.
Oh, so could it be an existing team already? We're talking
team that needs an arena.
Huh.
See, if the Otters would still be in Uniondale, I'd say them. But they're UBS is, by the way, Scott Malkin.
I haven't been there yet. I got to get down there.
Oh my goodness, the job that Mr. Malkin and Mr. Ledecky have done at UBS, it's a fantastic arena. It really is.
I can think of one that's in the news right now.
Okay,
they just got a new coach, Buffalo. They could use a new arena.
Yeah, but I don't think they're getting.
Even that the roof has been falling in, literally.
Nothing in Anaheim, nothing in LA, nothing in San Jose, nothing in Dallas. How about Nashville?
Ooh, yeah, it's been there for a while, huh?
Yeah, I don't think it's big enough for all the country western shows they get there.
I know, right?
All the rink. I love going to that rink. I do for a lot of reasons. One, because it's so intimate. The fans are on you, and they're so passionate.
Oh, there's everyone saying it right there, Pierre. The one staring us right in the face. Calgary.
Oh yeah. But I think that was already done, isn't it?
I think that's already set. That's going to happen.
Already set. So yes, okay. So I'll see you, Cal. But I think the one that nobody's talking about, I would like to see Nashville get a new arena, just because I'd like to see them have more fans in the building.
All right. Next question. Randy Workman. Hey, do you guys expect the Isles to switch back to Sorokin? I mean,
I don't think
Pat's
going to blame that on the goalie. Do you?
Yeah.
They played terrible.
He kept the game could have been out of hand a lot earlier in favor of Carolina. So
I don't know if I would do that. I wouldn't want my players to think that they got away with one. I want the players to know you guys didn't play very well.
No, they didn't. No, I keep Volumov in there. I think he's in there.
Me too.
All right, next question. Question for both of you. What's your favorite part about doing this podcast? Because to me, it's having the opportunity and the utmost joy to connect with such brilliant hockey minds. You guys are the best. Thanks, Bilal. Yeah, that would be ours too, as we just said. I mean, we love that. It's great to connect with you guys and answer these questions, and we appreciate your support.
You know why I like doing it? Besides the fact that we get to talk hockey, something that I really am passionate about, is watching you grow. Honestly, you're really good at this. You're really
Thank
good.
you, Pierre. Appreciate it, man. Feelings mutual, my friend. Not that you need to grow anymore. You've proved yourself.
Grow.
Nah, you're good. Thank you, Pierre. All right, next question. Mike, the Vegas Golden Knights have a machine of a roster from lines 1 to 4. Their back end is also stacked. Would not surprise me if they repeat. Thoughts? I mean, it could. They could. They get by Dallas. I think this could be one of their tallest tasks is getting by Dallas. And then I think it's wide open.
Don't forget about those guys up north, Edmonton.
Yep.
Don't forget about them.
No, but I just think
Edmonton. Yes, I would. I think that's fair, Jimmy. I'll just say this. I didn't think Vegas played great last night. I thought they played okay. I didn't think they were great. Look, they got outshot 30. When's the last time Vegas only got 15 shots on net?
I know. And Pierre, so here's the thing I'm worried about too with them, right? Not by any means do I think they're going to purposely sit back and be satisfied. I'm not saying that, but sometimes it's just a natural inclination to do that. You split already. You got that one win on the road. Dallas is going to come back fired up because they can't lose that. They can't go
tomorrow. I'm just telling you right now.
Right? You're getting a do or die type Dallas team tomorrow. So if they could somehow go back to Vegas up 2-0, then they're in great.
They're sitting in the rocking chair then.
But that's a big if. So we'll see what happens.
Let's wait till tomorrow. But I do think
never. You know what?
Who's one of our favorite players? Noah Hannafin, right? And it's not because you got into the same prep school. It has nothing to do with that.
Nothing to do with that.
Zero to do with
it. Great defenseman.
Talking about him where he should have been is Boston.
Yep. They could use him right now.
Yeah.
And I'll just say the one thing, and Pierre, you know this is true because you were on a team that went back to back. Never underestimate the heart of a champion. That's the one thing I'll say, and that's one thing that Vegas can
when guys know what it takes to get to the top of the mountain, you can never discount that.
That's a huge advantage.
Ever. It's a huge advantage.
All right, next question. Morant, which team who did not make the playoffs would probably have surprised many winning the first round? Detroit?
Yeah.
All right. We agree. Next question. Oh, we might be, that might be it. Yep. We're good. And that's good timing because it's about 5:08.
Question, because you've had to multitask so much today. What time are we on tomorrow?
1 p.m., my friend. 1 p.m. Eastern. Join us here on the eye test tomorrow. And Pierre, great job getting Tripp Tracy there, man. He was great. I could talk hockey with him forever.
I was really impressed by Tripp. I'm really proud of Tripp. Tripp's done a lot of battling in his life, and he's done a fantastic job with it. He's a great story. If you're a fan and you see Tripp in a rink, go say hello. Watch how much fun you'll have with him. He's a tremendous guy.
He's always been a gentleman. Every time I bump into him in the press boxes, and he always has time for anyone to talk hockey. So.
Yeah, he's fantastic that way, and he's a great ambassador for the game. He really is.
He really is.
How about some of the intel on the players from Carolina?
I was just going to say, that's what I really enjoyed. We got some great scouting reports there, man. Chatfield.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, Chatfield. That was just great. And even Freddie Anderson. I love that.
The stuff
he's one of those goalies. Yeah, he's one of those goalies, Pierre, who's always just had it, but then an injury happens or something happens. It's just he's never had good luck. And I want to see this guy go on a string of good luck because I really think he can do some damage in the playoffs here.
So do all those Caniacs down there in Raleigh.
Oh, yeah, that place is awesome. That is one of my favorite places to watch a game, Pierre.
I was a little surprised by the Tripster because I love him to death. He's like a little brother to me. So I'll just tell you this. I was there in 2006 with John Davidson and Mike Emmerich. We did Game 7. And when they won the Cup, I'm not sure. Even in Chicago Stadium when we won in 92, it was really loud coming out for Game 3. Like Chicago Stadium, Jimmy. I don't know if you were ever around.
I was watching. I was never there, though.
It was like the floor would shake before the anthem. It was really amazing when you're at ice level. I don't know what it was like in the stands.
You had to walk up, right?
5 stairs to get, and you come up and it's all dark in the building. It's one big bright light, and you come out and you're walking to the bench or you're skating around. You're like, oh geez, what's coming next? You know? And, but what I would tell you is, like, I remember that 06 like it was yesterday, and Brind'Amour Moore getting the cup, and oh my gosh, it was so loud in that place. You know, they had never won.
Yeah.
And they got close in 02. People forget Scotty's last cup was Carolina. They got close.
That's their only pro team.
I know. That's well.
You know.
Now with the NIL, you might debate that and say
Good point. Good point. But that's the one thing. Somebody wrote this on Twitter that posted a video of the crowd last night when they tied and then they went ahead, and they said people around the country don't realize what this is like for us. You are uniting a bunch of fans from different colleges around here that typically hate each other.
Well,
but
you
watch Hurricanes, we're all friends.
You got 4 major ones right there.
Yeah.
You know, with Wake Forest, North Carolina State, and North Carolina.
And dude,
it's equal. Yeah, it's equal opportunity. They don't like each other. It's okay.
Yeah, it's crazy rivalry, and then you're uniting all those people in one building together, cheering on a team together. It's a cool scenario for them. So we'll see how far they go. I got a feeling they're going for a deep run. Thanks to Tripp Tracy for joining.
How many am I holding up?
1.
What does that mean?
Number 1.
Tomorrow, 1 o'clock.
1 p.m. Yes, 1 p.m. We keep reminding you. Yep. 1 p.m. Everyone tune in here on the eye test. He's Pierre McGuire. I'm Jimmy Murphy. We will talk to you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the eye test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind.